Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mariah Davis, and I'm the Senior Policy and Campaigns Manager with the Choose Clean Water Coalition. It is really amazing to be with all of you here in person today. And I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our plenary lunch panel. So please continue eating and everything, but we're going to have three amazing women talk about what it means and what their work is here in Virginia for the fight for environmental justice. So I'll just go ahead and I guess kick things over to our virtual panel that we'll have here today, and we'll go ahead and get started. We've got Queen, Renada, and Lavisha here virtually, and I think you all should be able to show your screens on Zoom.
The host needs to start our video. If you can hear me, Mariah.
I can hear you, Queen. Are you able to share your video?
No, it says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. So the host needs to start our video.
Okay, I think Logan, our amazing AV team, is going to try and get that worked out. But Queen, whenever you're ready, you're welcome to kick off the panel, and we can start with introductions and the questions that you have for everybody. Does that sound good, Queen?
It sounds perfect to me.
All right.
All right, so we will get started. Good Wednesday, everyone. Thank you for joining this session on environmental justice. I'm Queen Shabazz, founder of United Parents Against Lead and CEO for the Virginia Environmental Justice Collaborative, and I'm from Earth. And that's one of the reasons we do this environmental justice work, because we're from Earth, and I don't think we're going to live anyplace else in our lifetimes. So our communities have been termed EJ communities, frontline communities, fence line communities, and even sacrifice zones. I was hoping that we would be able to show you an example of a fence line community, and hopefully we'll get the technical difficulties worked out. In reality, our communities are the places we love and deem worthy of saving. Our communities are us. The places where we live, learn, work, play, and pray. And we do a lot of praying. This session will highlight EJ communities and the heroes and sheroes who fight to preserve our communities. Two of my sheroes with us this afternoon are panelists Renada Harris of the Brown Grove Preservation Group and Lavisha Allen Rollins of the Concerned Citizens of Charles City County, C5. Please join me in welcoming the panelists. And okay, good. There's Lavisha. Okay, we have our, thank you, Drew. And Renata, are you able to get on camera?
Let's see. No, it will still not allow me to share my screen.
Okay, so we're getting there. So I would like to start with Lavisha, since I see you on the screen. If you would introduce yourself and share what drives you to this work. What's that thing that inspires you to get up every morning and continue the work?
Thank you. Thanks everyone for attending today. And I want to thank Queen for taking on the job of moderating. Queen will never, she will never say it, but she is one of the pillars that we all stand on in this work. And she's one of the reasons why I do what I do. The main reason that C5 was formed was because of two private developed power plants that were being proposed within a mile of our operating landfill. And when this was proposed to our community, we had no idea what it even meant from the emissions standpoint. And so I get up and do what I do every day because I have two young children that will be here hopefully once I'm gone. and they need to be able to have clean water and clean air, and not have to worry about the pollutants that could destroy their health. And also, everyone that ever listens to me present knows that my father was a heart transplant recipient in 2019. And one of the factors that was listed on why his heart failed was because of environmental factors. So, and Charles City has a very high cancer rate. We're a cancer cluster. And so that's what keeps me going, is to fight for those that are afraid to fight for themselves, so that we can have the basic human rights and access in our community.
Thank you. And Renata, the same question to you, please.
Yes, so what keeps me going and keeps me fighting in this journey is my current family and friends that live in the Brown Grove community, and the amount of support that we get from people that don't live in the community, from our organizations, people from all over the United States. Actually, we have a change.org petition with over 5,000, almost 6,000 signatures full of words of encouragement. And that's what keeps us going, because anyone that's doing grassroots activism knows that it's basically a full-time job. And to try to balance activism and your work life, it's very overwhelming, and it can be difficult. So the people, the organizations is what keeps us fighting, keeps the Brown Grove Preservation Group fighting continuously. And just the hands-on help that we get from organizations is hugely important.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, both of you. Yes, it is very very important, because we are looking to preserve our communities. I know both communities, but particularly Brown Grove is a freedmen founded community, hundreds of years old, and the National Smithsonian mentioned. And these are communities where we say nos quedamos. You know, we stay. We are not going to be run out of these our communities and the history that comes with it. So the next question is, can we discuss the demographics of your community and the communities that you are serving? What are some common characteristics that make these areas vulnerable? And we'll start again with Lavisha.
Yes, so Charles City County, I'll give you some background to build up to where we are currently. So back in the early 1900s to the 1960s, it was a predominantly 86% Black community, where it was predominantly Black, and it was comprised of slaves and freedmen until slavery was abolished. And then in the early 2000s, our community demographics changed because things were lack of development and access to certain qualities. It also aligned with our landfill as well. The landfill was put into place in the late 1990s. A lot of the Black residents have left, and they also have migrated to places that have more amenities. So now our current demographic is basically 50% Black, and 40% is 42% is white, and we have an indigenous tribe that makes up 7% of that, and the remaining would be different races throughout. So that does show how we are basically facing a gentrification effort where we are losing our Black population, and so we're trying to help bring the population, bring those Black community members back that once left. I'm one of those community members, so that's how our demographic currently is and how it's changed over the course of the past 60 years.
And Renata, the same question to you.
Yes, so the Brown Grove community was established in 1870 by freed slaves, and our community is unique because a lot of the descendants that were born there still live there. So you have families where the mother lives there, and then you have all of her children live right next to her. And you have clusters of families just like that, the Jacksons, the Harrises, Lewises. So it's unique in that way where it was built by freed slaves, and they built a church, which is the Brown Grove Baptist Church. We have our homes there. Mostly all the homes are owned, and they established businesses there. And so we also just celebrated 150 years at our church, and we have approximately about 140 households that were identified by the Department of Historic Resources. And we are actually designated currently on June 16th. We're up for national recognition for as a historic African American community. So that's quite an honor. And about 90, a little bit over 90% of the community is African American. And we are being targeted because we are a community of least resistance, so they thought, but because now we're fighting back. And so we are located in between the city of Richmond and Kings Dominion. And we have 95 running directly in our community, which split our community in half. And we have direct access to Route 1. We have direct access to Route 301, which attracts a lot of these large companies because we are a prime location for, logistically speaking, for transportation.
Correct. And I understand that our map is being shown now. We can't see it, but that's the word I'm giving. So I wanted you all to see, this is the Virginia Environmental Justice map that, okay, great. I think we are going to see it now. Okay, so I wanted to be able to click on the third tab up from Virginia, from Norfolk going up right under Richmond. Can you click that one, please? Yes. So that shows Charles City County. And if we can hit that little thing and scroll down. Yes. And so you would get a description of the environmental justice issues plaguing Charles City County. And I believe one of our panelists, Lavisha, mentioned about landfills. So Virginia has 60 solid waste landfills across the state. We get every trash and garbage from other states are dumping on us here in Virginia. Okay, and then if we can go to another tab, I believe that we have added Brown Grove to the map. Yes, we have. I'll tell you where that is. Do you remember where it is, Renata, on the map?
Oh, he has it up.
Okay, Brown Grove is up. Okay, great. And so if you would also scroll down, yeah, there you go. So just to give our audience an idea of the cumulative impacts that are shown on the map as we continue to build out the map and add on other environmental justice communities. Okay, because throughout Virginia, you know, developers, corporations, energy conglomerates pursue projects with harmful environmental outcomes, and they target, as Renata said, communities that they have classified as Sorrel communities, those communities that they think do not have the will or the voice or the resources to fight back. And what we are doing in Virginia, since the collaborative drafted and successfully passed the Environmental Justice Act of 2020, we are showing that our communities do have power. We do have voices. We stand in unity, and we are gathering the resources. that we, okay, you can take the map down now, thanks. The resources that we need to continue this fight to save our communities. Okay, thank you so much for showing the map. Now, next, I'd like for you, and we'll start with you, Renata, to speak about issues you're working on that impact water quality, since this is the Choose Clean Water conference. I got started with United Parents Against Lead. I founded that as a result of my son being poisoned by lead in 1996. And I know as a result, you know, although we dealt mostly with lead-based paint, we're all familiar with Flint, Michigan crisis and the contaminated water that many families in Flint are still suffering from. And knowing that we have the same aged infrastructure in Virginia and in Richmond, a lot of our older cities, we stand at risk for another Flint. And we know that if you had the choice between drinking some contaminated water or drinking a clean glass of water, we know that you would choose clean water. So tell us some of the issues that you're dealing with and how you're addressing them that impact the water quality or other resources like potable water.
So currently, we have a construction debris landfill in the community that's been there for a little over 30 years, and they're looking to expand for another, and that will increase their capability for another 20 years. So we're concerned about the impact of the leakage, if any, that would have on the well water in the community. We also have a construction debris facility in which there's a lot of dust that you can literally see the dust on a wind day when visitors come in the community. And they also have a drainage pond, which is leaking into our, which drains into our creeks in the area. There are a lot of creeks because it's a wetland area. And we also currently are facing a Wegmans distribution center, which has destructed about 15 acres of wetlands. And it's the largest wetlands in the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act impact project in this region in over 7 years. So it's destroying 15 acres. And already I took a picture of our creek in February of 2021, and our water was crystal clear. Now that Wegmans has destroyed 15 acres of wetlands, I happened to take another picture February of this year, and the water is murky. Not only in our local community, but the surrounding communities are also being impacted as well. So right now we're trying to get some water testing for some of our residents that have well water. Because the DEQ, they monitor the individual industries, but they don't test the water itself. So the residents have to reach out to the health department themselves to get water testing. So we're in the process of trying to partnership with Virginia Tech to get that done for individual residents. We did do some testing about a year ago, but the results came back inconclusive. So we're trying to get some funding to do that again.
Thank you. And Lavisha, the same question.
Yeah, so we initially, when the power plants were coming to our area and all of the different developments and pipelines, we realized that we had no baseline testing set up. We didn't know what our current water, air, or soil levels were. So we're now, we were awarded a grant the first part of this year where we're going to actually be testing 134 homes. So 100 homes, 10 churches, and then 10 waterways, where we're going to actually be physically going to homes and to the community and testing water. And we'll be working with Virginia Tech to get those samples set up. And we'll be doing our first one on June the 7th, our first pickup, and be doing the water testing so that we can begin to establish baseline testing. According to the Virginia Cooperative Extension offices, our water ways have not been monitored since 2013. And that's not to point fingers at anyone. It's just a lack of staff, that they can't go out and test water every single day in the communities. And we are a rural community, so you'd have to go through the woods in different areas. And so we're doing our own water testing study to get our baselines established. And then that's going to take us into our second phase, which will allow us to see, are any of the contaminants that if we were to find any contaminants, does that come from anything that's currently in development, i.e. our landfill, i.e. any type of, community dumpage or waste that is in the area. So that's what we're actively doing to make sure. And then we're also, we started a program called Project Black. And you can go to projectblack.org. It's PROJECTBLACC. And we're basically doing community monitoring. So we're going to be training people on how we're going to monitor our waterways and our air quality so that we can continually have our baselines established so that we no longer have to rely on outside agencies. And also when we have these developments that come to our community, because they will come back, they're not going to stop coming into these areas, we can adequately show the operating agencies that our water quality, where it stands, and how we want to continue to make sure that it stays in a healthy condition. So you can also go to c5groupinform.com to learn more about our water testing project. And we'll be posting it so everyone else can kind of see what we've learned, pros and cons from our investigation.
Thank you. And Drew, if you can please put that in the chat. So what are some of the current political, financial challenges that you're facing with your organization as you're fighting these environmental justice issues? And we'll go back to you, Renada.
So I would say that we have been working closely with, in the beginning, Sunrise RVA, Virginia League of Conservation Voters, Hanover County NAACP, SELC, of course, Virginia Environmental Justice Council, Chesapeake Climate Action Network, Chesapeake Bay Foundation, American Redress Network, RAZAR, NAMADI, International Center for Transitional Justice. But where we lack is where we have environmental groups that have been lacking when it comes to actual legal challenges. And so that's where we win. And so that is, we have groups in climate action groups that would like to help us, but we need legal help. Mm-hmm. And that takes a lot of money. And we're a grassroots agency, a grassroots organization, and we have to fundraise for it to do this. And so that's been our biggest challenge, is to get funding for our group, and to we're looking right now to get fiscal sponsorship to help with that hurdle. Even writing grants, that takes time and knowledge. And some of the organizations that we're working with are small organizations, and they do not have the resources to help with that. So we need help with that level of expertise legally. Is our biggest hurdle.
Yes, and from my experience at working with Choose Clean Water over the last several years, there are usually funders in the audience. So, Lavisha, what would you say to our funders and on any politicians that's there on any kind of political challenges, funding barriers? Speak.
So we definitely would love to have, of course, we're as good as our biggest grant or our next grant. Right now, we have several different things that you can help us with. We're fundraising, of course, to start Project Black. We have a building that we purchased that will literally be our training facility, where we'll be doing the workforce development, where we're training people in electrical, mechanical, plumbing, pipe laying, building, electrification, weatherization, as well as agricultural farming. We want to get our Black farmers back up. Less than 2% is not sufficient. So we're going to be training people, and they'll be certified after 2 to 3 years. And so we have funding operations for that. You can go to c5groupinform.com or Project Black. We need help with setting up structure and helping to fund those projects. We do also need funding sources for community engagement. We just had an Earth Day program that we have for the community, all free. We had 200 participants, and we want to get awareness out for other groups as well. So we do need funding to put on those community events. And so that costs us $8,000. And as Renata said, we're a small group as well. And so we do just need help with funding and also unrestricted funds, or ways to allocate the restricted funds so that if something changes and we have to change our dynamics or our funding source or our direction, we can work with you to get that done. And so we are a 501c3, so we can, definitely take any funding that you offer, but we also want to partner so that we can also give back to you and support you with volunteer efforts. So you can definitely donate directly, volunteer efforts, and also we would definitely love to partner with you so that we can help bring awareness to your cause as well as ours, and work towards common goals that we need to get established to protect water and protect human rights.
Yes, and rights of nature. So general support funding, multi-year funding, and we know that partnership is very important in our work. How can groups get involved in your work? And if you can also put up Renada's and Brown Grove's contact information in the chat, please, Drew. But how can groups get involved in your work? Is there any advice you'd give to organizations who are interested in working with you, Renada?
So currently we have a rezoning suit, which is going to the Virginia Supreme Court, and it has the potential to clarify a prior court decision called Friends of the Rappahannock versus Caroline County. And so if you want to get involved with helping in a legal way, or any way at all, actually, you can reach out to savebrowngrove150@gmail.com. And you can also join our Facebook group, which is Brown Grove Preservation Group, and consider donating to our GoFundMe, which has just been posted in the chat as well.
Thank you. Lavisha?
Yes, so as I said, we are right now doing a community garden that we are actively, it's currently work in production. We are actually planted all of our plants, and we're seeing all of our hard work come to fruition. So we'll be harvesting starting in July, early August. And so we would love to have community volunteers that would like to come out now to help with weeding and helping us to plant, install our drip lines. And we are also taking donations. All the food we make from this will be donated. So if any of you have any causes where you need food support, please reach out to me. My email directly is in the chat, or you can go to any of the two websites that were listed. That's one way. Number two, we will be starting on September 1st, our workforce development program, where we will be training people of color and any rural communities or anyone that would like to get certified in a building industry trade. You will get your certification so that you can go on to practice, start your own company if you'd like, but we're going to provide the training. It's job placement, so they will be placed into a job. However, we do need donations to pay the trainers, transportation, and also there's a mindset training. We teach them on how to budget, navigate, so that when they get these well-paying jobs, they know how to manage the funding and can go on to live in communities like Charles City, so that we don't have to have low-income housing and low-income initiatives. These people have good paying jobs and are invested in their community. So you can go to projectblack.org or C5 Group, or email me directly and we'll give you to our PayPal link and you can donate directly to that. And lastly, third, if you would like to support C5 directly, we're still fighting to protect against any developments. We're currently having an expansion for our landfill, and we're actively fighting. There were USCT troops that were fighting at the Battle of Nance's Shop. Please look it up. It was a 3-day battle, and we are actively working to help the community stop the expansion so that it doesn't destroy any type of history at the Civil War battle that took place. So please feel free to contact me directly to help with us with those funding sources, because we're trying to rebuild the community by empowering them. We don't want to give them a handout, because handouts leave. But if we can give them the skill sets and the empowerment to take on the charges that they have in their community and build upon that and give back to their own community, it's more sustainable. So that's how you can reach out and work with us.
Thank you, ladies, both of you, so much for sharing those stories. You've heard the stories of just two activists from the Virginia Environmental Justice Collaborative as they have described the projected harm of proposed projects in their communities and how they organized, empowered, and mobilized their communities, and still in the process of doing that to fight back. We urge you to write to DEQ, attend the public comment session, stop these polluting permits that are being allowed to build these industries in our communities that's destroying life, property, wetlands, the environment. So thank you all for joining us. I'll turn it back over to you, Mariah. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And blessings.
Thank you so much, Queen, Renata, and Lavisha. I can't stress how important partnership is. So for those of you, organizations who are always interested in wanting to learn more about how to get involved with environmental justice communities, they've given you a lot of tools and resources to do that. But we're happy to take a question from the audience if anybody has a question for any of the panelists today. If you do, you can just simply raise your hand. Yes, Betsy.
I was just sort of, oh, thank you. I was really surprised to hear that there are proposals for new power plants there. What is their justification for that power need instead of having something like renewables?
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lavisha.
yeah. So the need was positioned that for development, and also because of the need for the Tidewater area was growing, they wanted to be prepared for the increase of usage with additional homes and businesses that they were looking in the future. Their main complaint was that they need to be able to have additional backup. And the type of plant they were proposing was one of the hydro plants where they wanted to use a new technology where they would use wind turbines that would be basically cooled with water so that it would lessen the amount of emissions and cool the engines to make higher production of power. And so they wanted to use a new model to show that they can still use fossil fuels, but it was done in a cleaner manner. So that was the argument of why they felt it was two power plants. It was C4GT and the Chickahominy power plant that they proposed was needed for additional growth and expanded need in the Tidewater and I believe also Northern Virginia area.
Thank you.
The justification is actually greed and a disregard of of human life. So it's really fueled by greed, corporate greed.
Great. Well, one more round of applause for Queen Lavisha and Renata.
Thank you all. Choose clean water, choose life, choose a clean environment. Blessings, everyone.
For those who are sticking around for the rest of the day, Lavisha is actually here with us today. She'll be back and be joining us throughout the day. But I have a few important reminders for you all before we transition and go into the rest of our sessions and workshops today. Raise your hand if you're going on a field trip. I think most of you will be going on a field trip. Awesome. So Drew mentioned this before, but our South Wings flight is canceled. But if you're interested in going on a field trip, please contact Amy. And if you were going to go on South Wings before, but if you're interested in joining one, you can talk to her about that. But our buses for the field trips are leaving at 2:30. Bring your water bottle and be ready to go. Everybody should meet in the James River foyer for your field trip at 2:30. Our next our next breakout sessions will begin at 1:15, so pretty shortly. The Engaging Latino Community session will be on the third floor on the pool deck if you're going to that section. I think the weather's looking okay outside for that. Tonight's reception, who's excited for the reception and dinner? Woo! That'll be at the Main Street train station, not too far. We'll have buses departing from Cary Street. They're leaving at 5:50, 6:10, and 6:30. So first bus leaves at 5:50, 6:10, then 6:30. If you missed your bus, you can walk there. It's not very far. We'll have reception and dinner from 6 to 10. So hope to see you all there. Also, we're very interested in your feedback. If you have feedback about this session or any of our sessions, be sure to take a look at the QR codes that you have on your tables and please take those surveys. Lastly, I just want to thank our sponsors, specifically our Rappahannock and our York sponsors. We could not be here, we could not do this work without your support. So please give a round of applause for all of our York and Rappahannock sponsors. All right, well, that's all we had today. Please continue to enjoy your lunch and we'll begin shortly with our breakouts at 1:15.